The old Blackwood Manor stood skeletal against the bruised, thundering sky, a jagged silhouette of forgotten splendors and rumored sorrows. Rain began to fall, fat, greasy drops that slicked the overgrown path and drummed a mournful rhythm on the decaying shingles. A slow, deliberate zoom closes in on the structure's malevolent face, its gaping windows like hollow eye sockets, its grand oak door a grim, tight-lipped mouth. Every shadow seemed to writhe with a life of its own, clinging to the rotting eaves and sprawling ivy, whispering of the dread that had long ago seeped into the very foundation of the place. The air itself was thick, heavy with the scent of wet earth, decay, and something else, something ancient and expectant. For a century, the mansion had waited, a patient predator under the perpetually stormy English heavens, guarding its secrets with a chilling stillness. This was not just a derelict building, it was a tomb, and tonight its silence was about to be broken. Leo, a journalist whose ambition often outstripped his sense of self-preservation, pushed open the groaning front door. The sound echoed through the cavernous foyer like a death rattle. He stepped inside and the world outside vanished, swallowed by a profound, oppressive darkness that seemed to press in from all sides. His flashlight sputtered to life, a single nervous beam that sliced through the gloom, illuminating a world frozen in time. Dust motes danced like frantic sprites in the light, revealing furniture shrouded in white cloths like a congregation of ghosts. The air was frigid, stagnant, and carried the faint, cloying scent of dried roses and dust. Each creak of the floorboards under his feet was a gunshot in the dead quiet, and the silence that followed was even more deafening. Cautiously, he moved deeper into the house, his light sweeping across peeling portraits whose eyes seemed to follow him and cobwebs as thick as cotton shrouds. He was hunting for a story, the truth behind the local legends of the Blackwood curse, but a primal part of him screamed that he was the one being hunted. His beam fell upon a small mahogany table in what might have once been a child's playroom. Atop it, amidst the debris of a shattered life, lay a small leather-bound diary. He picked it up, the leather cold and brittle beneath his fingers, and blew a century of dust from its cover. The pages were filled with the looping, innocent script of a child, but the words were a stark contrast to the penmanship. They spoke of loneliness, of a cold house, and of a constant, terrifying companion, a shadow in the walls that whispered secrets in the dark and moved just at the edge of sight. The drawings were even more disturbing. Stick figures of a little girl cowering in a corner while a tall, amorphous black shape with too many joints loomed over her from the floral-patterned wallpaper. The journalist's breath hitched as he reached the final entry, the writing a frantic, almost illegible scrawl. "It's coming out," the entry read. "The shadow wants a new friend. It's scratching its way out for me." As Leo's eyes scanned the last desperate word, a sound pricked the silence. It was faint at first, a dry, skittering noise like rats scrabbling behind the plaster. He froze, flashlight beam fixed on the far wall, his heart hammering against his ribs. The scratching grew louder, more insistent, coming from directly behind the faded floral wallpaper depicted in the diary. A small dark bulge appeared on the surface, stretching the paper taut. Then another and another. The paper began to tear with a sickening wet rip. From the widening fissure, something began to emerge. It wasn't solid, but a fluid, inky blackness that defied shape and form, a piece of living darkness peeling itself away from the structure of the house. A low, guttural whisper, like dry leaves skittering across pavement, filled the room, forming his name. The camera pulls back sharply, retreating from the horror within. The final shot is from outside the mansion, the storm now raging with apocalyptic fury. For a fleeting, horrifying moment, a new face appears in a grimy upstairs window. It is Leo's face, pale and contorted in a silent scream of pure, unadulterated terror. His eyes are wide with a madness that transcends fear, fixed on something unseen within the room. Then, as quickly as it appeared, his face is gone, pulled back into the suffocating darkness. The window is empty once more, just another black, vacant eye in the mansion's monstrous facade. The rain continues to fall, washing the world clean, but it cannot wash away the stain of what Blackwood Manor has just consumed. The house settles back into its patient, watchful silence, waiting for its next visitor. The old lawyer's letter had been curt, speaking of a distant relative and an inheritance Alex never knew he had. Now, standing before the looming silhouette of Blackwood Manor, a chill that had nothing to do with the brewing storm snaked down his spine. Rain began to fall in heavy, fat drops, splattering against the weathered stone as lightning cracked across the bruised purple sky. momentarily illuminating the derelict mansion in all its decaying grandeur. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and something older, something like forgotten memories and decay. With a deep, hesitant breath, he pushed open the massive, groaning oak door and stepped out of the storm into the oppressive silence of his new home. The door swung shut behind him with a deafening boom, the sound echoing through the cavernous space like a final damning judgment. Inside, a thick layer of dust coated everything, shimmering like a fine shroud in the dim light that filtered through grime-caked windows. Grand furniture draped in white cloths stood like pale specters in the gloom, their shapes distorted and monstrous. As Alex moved deeper into the house, his footsteps muffled by ancient threadbare rugs, he felt a palpable sense of being watched. The walls were lined with portraits, their subjects' eyes rendered in dark, cracking oil paint seeming to follow his every move. A cold draft slithered through the empty hallways, carrying with it what sounded like faint sibilant whispers that seemed to dance just at the edge of his hearing. He called out, his voice sounding small and fragile in the vast emptiness, but only the sighing of the wind and the rhythmic drumming of the rain against the roof answered. Drawn by an unseen force, he found himself in a library on the second floor. Books lay scattered, their pages yellowed and brittle, but one leather-bound volume on the desk seemed to call to him. It was a diary. The elegant script within detailed the life of a young woman named Alara, who had lived in the manor a century ago. Her entries, at first filled with life and love, slowly descended into a spiral of paranoia and fear, speaking of a shadow that haunted her, a presence that promised to never let her go. The final entry was a scrawled, desperate plea, dated the night of her tragic, unexplained death. As Alex read the last word, a flicker of movement in the ornate, gilt-edged mirror across the room caught his eye. He looked up and his heart seized. Reflected behind his own terrified face was the translucent, sorrowful figure of a woman in a tattered white dress, her eyes hollow pits of despair. A primal scream tore from his throat. He dropped the diary and scrambled backward, his mind refusing to process what he was seeing. Panic, cold and absolute, seized him. He turned and fled, stumbling through the labyrinthine corridors, the ghostly whispers now coalescing into a single chilling word. His name. Alex. It sighed, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. He burst into the grand foyer and threw himself at the front door, his fingers fumbling desperately with the heavy iron latch. It wouldn't budge, it was locked, sealed tight as a tomb. A cold hand, ethereal and impossibly frigid, settled on his shoulder. He froze, his blood turning to ice. Slowly, he turned to see the ghostly figure of Alara looming directly behind him, her face inches from his, her spectral lips parting to whisper his name one last time. A promise of an eternity spent within the cold stone walls of Blackwood Manor. The logbook entry was dated October 19, 1888. Old Man Hemlock's last entry. His script, usually so steady, was a frantic scrawl. "It comes with the fog," he wrote, "the other light. A mocking twin on the horizon where no light should be. I'd been keeper of the St. Jude's Head Lighthouse for 20 years, and I'd always dismissed the tales of my predecessor's madness as local folklore. A ghost story to tell the children. But tonight the fog was different. It rolled in not from the sea but seemingly from the land, a thick, unnatural blanket that swallowed the world whole. The air grew cold, carrying a briny metallic scent like old blood and rust. I was in the lantern room polishing the great lens when I first saw it. A pinprick of light, faint at first, miles out at sea. It pulsed. A slow, steady beat matching my own lighthouse's rhythm. 1, 2, 3, then dark. 1, 2, 3, then dark. Impossible. The charts were clear. The nearest light was 50 miles down the coast. I grabbed the spyglass, my hands trembling slightly. The beam cut through the swirling gray, and for a moment I saw it. Not a lighthouse. It was a single, massive lantern suspended in the void, swinging from a structure I couldn't discern within the oppressive mist. A cold dread, colder than the autumn sea, seeped into my bones. Hemlock's words echoed in my mind. It calls to the ships, but not to save them. I spent the rest of the night watching it, a silent, terrifying vigil. The light never wavered in its mocking pulse. It felt predatory. By dawn, the fog receded, and the phantom light vanished with it as if it had never been. For a week, the sea was calm, the sky clear. I tried to convince myself it was a trick of the light, a symptom of fatigue. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I found myself rereading Hemlock's journal, his descent from skepticism to sheer terror mirroring my own growing unease. He wrote of whispers in the fog, of shadows moving at the edge of his vision, of a figure standing at the base of the lighthouse looking up. Then the fog returned, thicker this time, clinging to the stone walls like a shroud. And with it the light. Closer now, much closer. The pulsing rhythm was a thunderous heartbeat I could feel in my chest. This time there were whispers. Faint, sibilant sounds carried on the wind, slithering through the cracks in the tower's walls. They spoke of the deep, of the cold, of the crushing dark beneath the waves. I slammed the lantern room hatch shut, my heart hammering against my ribs. "It's a lie," I muttered, the words feeling hollow and useless. But then I heard it. A slow, heavy scraping sound from below, the sound of wet stone on wet stone moving up the spiral staircase. I am writing this now in this same logbook with a shaking hand. The scraping is getting louder. The whispers are calling my name. The light outside is no longer pulsing, it's a constant blinding glare, and it's right outside the window. I can see a silhouette in its blaze, something tall and gaunt at the railing. It's waiting for me. I don't know what it is, but I know it's what took Hemlock. And now it has come back for the keeper.